Nana, what are you doing? Why are you staring at the ceiling?
I'm buffering, Rosie. Somebody asked me a simple question 5 minutes ago, and I'm still building the answer.
What was the question?
They asked me what my favorite movie is. That's it, favorite movie. And my brain went, okay, first think of the movie in my language, then translate the title, then build the sentence, then check the grammar, and by then they were already talking about something else.
Oh, Nana, that feeling has a name. It's called the translation bottleneck, and it is one of the most common and most exhausting experiences every single English learner goes through.
And here's the thing that makes it worse. The more anxious you get about the delay, the longer the delay gets. It becomes a loop. You freeze because you're translating, and you translate more because you froze.
Wait, so it's not just me being slow? This is actually a real thing that happens to everyone?
It is absolutely a real thing, backed by actual neuroscience. And today, we are going to dismantle it piece by piece. Welcome to the English Nana podcast. I'm Rosy.
And I'm Harry, someone who spent 3 years translating every single thought before speaking and finally found a way out.
And I'm Nana, currently buffering, but very hopeful that today's episode will fix my brain.
Today's episode is called How to Stop Translating in Your Head and Start Thinking in English. This is a psychological deep dive. We're going to talk about why translation happens, what it does to your brain, and most importantly, the exact daily habits that rewire you out of it permanently.
This isn't a list of vocabulary tips. This is about changing how your brain actually processes language at the deepest level. And once you make this shift, even partially, speaking English becomes a completely different experience.
Quick question before we dive in. When you're speaking English right now, are you translating first or thinking directly? Be honest in the comments. We won't judge, we promise.
And subscribe for new episodes every single day because consistent daily practice is actually one of the things we're going to talk about today.
Harry, let's start with the neuroscience. What is actually happening inside the brain when someone translates?
So what's happening is genuinely fascinating. When you learn your native language as a child, words become directly connected to concepts in your brain. You see a dog and you think dog. No intermediate step. The word and the concept are fused together.
And what happens when you learn a second language like English later on?
In most cases, you build a bridge. English word connects to your native word, which then connects to the concept. So instead of English word into concept, you get English word into native word, then into concept. 2 steps instead of 1.
So the delay isn't a failure. It's literally how the wiring is built.
Exactly. And psychologists have actually measured this delay. Language switching slows your brain by approximately 200 milliseconds. That sounds tiny, but in a real conversation, 200 milliseconds is the difference between a natural response and that horrible moment of silence where everyone waits for you to catch up. And the emotional layer on top of that makes it even harder, because the moment you feel the delay, anxiety kicks in, which actually restricts your language centers of your brain even further. Fear and language processing compete for the same mental resources.
So anxiety literally makes the translation worse. The more scared you are, the more you translate.
That is exactly right, and that is why so many learners find that they speak much better when they're relaxed, at home with close friends, than in a high-stakes moment like a job interview or a presentation. It's not that you know less in the interview, it's that fear is consuming the bandwidth your language centers need.
There's a beautiful term for what happens when you remove the translation layer. It's called direct access. The moment a word in English connects straight to its meaning, bypassing your native language entirely, that word has crossed from your learned vocabulary into your thinking vocabulary.
And the goal isn't to get every word to direct access overnight. It happens gradually, word by word, phrase by phrase. But each word that crosses over makes your thinking a little faster, a little more natural, and a little less exhausting.
How do you actually make that crossing happen faster? Is there a way to speed it up?
That's exactly where we're going next, the habits. But first, here's a question for everyone listening right now. Think of one English word that you already think in directly, no translation needed. Maybe it's okay, or coffee, or no problem. That word has already crossed over. Tell us in the comments what your first direct access English word was.
Mine was relax. I had a teacher who said it constantly, and eventually it just lived in English in my brain. I never translated it.
Mine was oops, because mistakes happen fast and there was no time to translate. My brain just grabbed English automatically.
Oops is actually a perfect example. Reaction words are usually the first to go direct because they happen before the conscious translation process can start. We'll come back to that. Let's get into the habits.
Habit 1, and this is the foundation of everything else, is switching your inner monologue to English. Your inner monologue is the voice in your head that narrates your thoughts, makes decisions, plans your day. Most people have it running constantly in their native language.
And the goal is to gradually move that voice into English?
Gradually is the key word. You don't do it all at once. That's overwhelming and it makes you anxious, which defeats the purpose. You start with tiny moments. When you wake up, your first thought might be a simple narration. I'm tired. I need coffee. Say that in English, just in your head, not out loud.
So, I narrate my life in English, like a documentary about myself?
That is exactly the right image. Narrate your own life. I am making breakfast. It's raining outside. I don't want to go to work today. Simple thoughts, simple sentences in English in your head. You're not studying, you're living in the language.
And the power of this is enormous because it's happening in the same mental space where real conversations happen. You're not sitting at a desk learning English, you're thinking in English while doing dishes or commuting or buying groceries. Those moments add up faster than any structured study session.
What if I don't know a word? What if I want to say something but the English word doesn't come?
This brings us to habit 2, simplify, don't stall. Most learners stop dead when they can't find the exact word they want, but native speakers don't do that. They simplify the sentence or use a different word that they do know.
For example, you want to say procrastinate, but you can't remember it. Instead of freezing, you say keep putting things off or delay doing things. You get to the meaning a different way. The conversation keeps moving. Your brain gets positive feedback for succeeding, not negative feedback for failing.
So instead of freezing on the word I don't know, I route around it with words I do know to get to the same meaning. Keep the conversation moving.
That's a perfect way to describe it. Route around the obstacle. And the beautiful side effect is that this is exactly what native speakers do all the time. Nobody has perfect vocabulary. Everybody rewires their sentence on the fly. That's not a weakness, that's fluency in action.
Habit 3, and this is the one that made the biggest personal difference for me, is reacting in English before your brain can translate.
Tell us more about this one, Harry, because I know this was huge for you.
So for a long time, even when I'd had a whole conversation in English, my reactions were still in my native language. Something funny happened, I laughed in my head in my language first. Something surprised me, the surprise thought was in my language first. And that told me that English was still a guest in my mind, not a resident.
So how do you fix that? How do you change your reactions?
You train your reactions deliberately. When you stub your toe, say ow. When something surprises you, say wait, what? When something goes wrong, say oh no, or seriously? These tiny exclamations feel silly at first, but they are actually drilling English directly into your emotional response system, which is the deepest level of language processing.
And when English lives in your emotional reactions, something shifts. You start to feel the language, not just think it. That is one of the most significant milestones in language learning, when a word in English makes you feel something directly, without the translation step.
I actually felt that once. Someone said that's heartbreaking, and I felt sad before I even consciously processed the words. Is that what you mean?
That is exactly what we mean. Heartbreaking has crossed over for you, Nana. That word now lives in English in your emotional brain. That is direct access, not just to the meaning, but to the feeling. Time for Nana's Corner. Nana, I know you've been experimenting this week. What happened?
Okay, so I tried something this week that felt really strange, but actually worked. I switched my phone to English.
Just the phone settings?
Yes, and at first it was uncomfortable, like really uncomfortable. I had to stop and read things twice. But after about 3 days, something shifted. I stopped seeing the English words on my screen as things I needed to translate. They just became the meaning directly. Settings just meant settings. Notifications just meant notifications. No detour.
This is such a perfect real-world example of what we've been discussing. You forced your brain to build direct connections by removing the option of the native language shortcut.
But here's the part that really surprised me. On day 4, I was in a shop and someone asked me a question and I answered, just answered, without any feeling of translating first. And I thought, wait, was that it? Did I just think in English?
That moment, Nana, that exact moment you described, that is called a breakthrough moment in language psychology. It's not permanent yet. It won't happen every time, but it proves the pathway is there. Your brain can do it. Now you just build on it.
I almost cried in the shop, honestly.
Nana, that is beautiful. My vocabulary pick question for you today is, what word do you want to nominate for today?
My pick is translation bottleneck, because knowing this term changed something for me. Rosie, can you explain it properly?
Love it. A translation bottleneck is the mental choke point that happens when your brain has to route an English thought through your native language before it can come out. Like a 2-lane road suddenly narrowing to 1. Everything slows down. Once you know this is what's happening, you stop blaming yourself for being slow and start understanding it as a wiring issue you can actually fix.
And the companion term is direct access, when the wiring is fixed and the English word connects straight to meaning, bypassing the native language entirely. Going from translation bottleneck to direct access is the journey every language learner is on.
So it's not that I'm bad at English, it's that my wires are still being rerouted.
Exactly. Your brain is literally being rewired every day you practice. That is not a metaphor. That is actual neuroplasticity. Brilliant, Nana's Corner today.
Let's talk about the habit that most people overlook, and it's the one that actually moves the fastest. Learning language in chunks, not words.
This is so important. Can you break this down?
When you learn the word nervous in isolation, your brain stores it as nervous equals native language equivalent. One word, one translation. But when you learn I'm really nervous about this as a whole chunk, your brain stores the whole feeling, the situation, the emotion, the expression together. No translation needed because the whole chunk just means the whole feeling.
So instead of memorizing words, I should be memorizing whole sentences instead.
Not just sentences, phrases, and expressions you'll actually use. Things like, to be honest with you, that makes sense. I was just thinking about that. You know what I mean? When these become automatic chunks in your brain, you stop building sentences word by word and start reaching for ready-made pieces.
Native speakers speak almost entirely in chunks. They don't construct each sentence from scratch. They have thousands of pre-built phrases they grab and arrange. The more chunks you have in English, the less your brain has to build, and the less building it has to do, the less it falls back on translation.
So the goal is to fill my brain with pre-built English pieces so it doesn't have to construct everything from zero each time.
That's it exactly. And one powerful way to build those chunks fast is shadowing, listening to a native English speaker and repeating exactly what they say immediately, copying their rhythm and intonation. You're not translating, you're absorbing the whole unit, sounds, rhythm, meaning, all at once.
Another huge one, keeping a journal in English. Not a grammar exercise, a real journal. What happened today, how you feel, what you're thinking about. You start with simple sentences, and over time you notice your sentences getting more complex because your brain is getting more comfortable building in English rather than translating.
I started doing this last month. At first, every sentence felt painful and slow, but after 2 weeks, I noticed I was writing faster and the English came first, not the translation.
That is exactly the progress curve. Slow and painful at first, but then suddenly your brain figures out the shortcut and it gets easier fast. Nana, you are living proof of everything we've been talking about today.
One more habit, and this one is specifically for the anxiety piece, is learning to be comfortable with imperfection in real time. Most learners freeze because they're afraid of making a mistake, but the freeze itself is the worst outcome. A slightly imperfect sentence that keeps the conversation going is always better than perfect silence.
There's a phrase I love for this mindset. Aim for communication, not perfection. Native speakers make grammatical mistakes constantly. They mumble, they restart sentences, they use the wrong word sometimes. The goal of language is to connect, not to be graded. Once you really internalize that, the anxiety drops, and when the anxiety drops, the translation bottleneck eases.
I think that's the thing that helps me most, knowing that the other person isn't grading me. They just want to understand me, and I just want to talk to them. That's it. Okay, mistake 1. I used to say I have 20 years instead of I am 20 years old. Mistake 2, I used to say I am agree. We talked about this one before, but I still catch myself. And mistake 3, this one's embarrassing. I once said he is very like football instead of he really likes football.
Nana just said something that took me 2 years to learn. Write that down, everyone.
Time for Nana's common mistakes. Nana, 3 in a row, all connected to today's topic.
These are going to be translation error classics. I can already feel it.
Practice makes progress, not perfection, and today's mistakes prove we're all still progressing.
All 3 of these are beautiful because they're all direct word-for-word translations from a different language structure.
First, I have 20 years. In many languages, age is expressed with the verb have. I have 20 years. But in English, age is expressed with the verb be. I am 20 years old. This is one of the most common first-level translation errors because it's structurally so different.
Second, I am agree. We've mentioned this before, but it's worth revisiting because it keeps coming up. Agree is already a full verb. It doesn't need am or be before it. I agree. Complete, clean, natural.
And third, he is very like football is a direct structure import where in English, like as a verb means to enjoy something and it needs a subject and object without the verb be in between. He really likes football. The verb is likes and really replaces very because we don't say very likes in English.
Say all 3 correct versions out loud right now. I am 20 years old. I agree. He really likes football. Say them with confidence, not translating, just saying.
And notice all 3 mistakes came from the brain trying to translate structure, not just vocabulary. That's why today's topic matters so much. When you train your brain to think in English, these structural errors start to fade because you're not importing structure from another language anymore. Time for the role play, and today's scenario is very close to all of us. Nana has a moment of language anxiety in the middle of a conversation and has to navigate out of it using the habits we talked about today.
I'll be a friendly colleague named James. Rosy, your Nana's other coworker watching.
This is literally my life being dramatized right now.
Hey, Nana, did you watch the documentary everyone's been talking about last night?
Oh, honestly, I wanted to, but I ended up staying late. What was it about?
It was about people who move to completely new countries and build their lives from scratch. Really emotional stuff.
That sounds it sounds like something that hits close to home. I'd love to watch it.
Have you ever felt like that? Starting over somewhere new?
Honestly, every time I speak English in a new situation, it feels a little like starting over. Like I know what I want to say, but I don't know the word. I have to find the path to say it.
That's actually a really beautiful way to put it. Find the path.
Oh, I didn't know that was good English. I was just routing around the word I couldn't find.
Did you guys catch what just happened there? Nana used every technique from today's episode in one conversation. He simplified instead of stalling, he routed around a missing word, and he kept the emotional connection going the whole time.
And notice, James didn't wait for perfect English. He responded to the meaning. That's always how real communication works. The other person is on your side.
I didn't translate that conversation. I was a bit slow in one place, but I didn't freeze. I just kept going.
Kept going is the whole game, Nana. That is the whole game. Now, listeners, try writing your own version of a moment where you routed around a missing word and kept the conversation alive. Share it in the comments. We want to see your real moments.
The more you practice this, the more natural it becomes. The path gets wider every time you walk it.
Hey everyone, it's Nana, and today I want to share something very personal with you. I've been learning English for a few years now, and for most of that time, every conversation felt like a performance I wasn't ready for, like I was on stage without having rehearsed. The words were there, somewhere, but by the time I found them, the moment had passed. I remember once I was trying to tell a friend something that really mattered to me, something I felt deeply, and I started the sentence, got lost in the translation, forgot the word I needed, restarted, and eventually I just said never mind because it was easier than watching them wait. And that moment stayed with me for a long time, not because of the language failure, but because of the feeling underneath it. That there was a version of me that existed in my language, a full, funny, thoughtful, expressive person, and that person couldn't fully come through in English, like there was a wall of translation between the real me and the English-speaking world. Today's episode changed something in how I see that, because we talked about the fact that this isn't about intelligence or ability. The wall isn't made of your limitations, it's made of incomplete wiring, and wiring can be changed. Okay, vocabulary from today's topic. First phrase, language anxiety. This is the specific fear and stress that happens when you have to use a language that isn't your first. It's not general nervousness. It's the particular feeling of being trapped between what you want to say and what you can say. Knowing it has a name makes it easier to face. Second phrase, direct access. When a word in English connects straight to its meaning without passing through your native language first. You don't think dog, then translate, you just think dog and know. Building direct access, word by word, is how you dismantle the translation wall. Third phrase, neuroplasticity. This is the brain's ability to form new connections and rewire itself throughout your entire life, not just in childhood. Every English sentence you think, every reaction you have in English, every journal entry you write, these are literally reshaping your brain. You are not stuck. The brain is never finished changing. Here's your reflection question. When was the last time you felt that wall? The moment when something was clear in your mind but got lost in translation before it came out. I want you to think about it not with frustration, but with curiosity. What was the word or phrase that got stuck? What would you say now if that moment happened again? Try this out loud. Pick something you feel strongly about, a memory, a person, a dream, and describe it in English. Don't translate. Start with simple words. Let it be messy. The mess is the practice. That's it for today's Spotlight. Let's go back to the podcast.
Quiz time, one question at a time. You answer first before Nana does. Pause, think, say it out loud, then hear Nana's answer. This is your thinking in English practice moment right now.
And notice, when you pause to answer, try not to translate the question first. Just let the meaning land directly and respond. That is the skill we're practicing.
Question 1. What is the name for the mental delay that happens when your brain routes English through your native language before speaking? Pause and answer now.
The translation bottleneck, the two-step process that slows you down by around 200 milliseconds.
Perfect. Translation bottleneck. 2 steps instead of 1. And those 2 steps are enough to throw off a whole conversation.
Question 2. When a word in English connects directly to its meaning without translation, what is that called? Think about it.
Direct access. The word goes straight to the concept, no detour through your native language.
Exactly right. Direct access, the goal. And every word that gets there makes your English faster and more natural.
Question 3. What should you do when you can't find the exact English word you want in the middle of a sentence instead of freezing? Take a moment.
Route it around it. Simplify the sentence or use different words you do know to get to the same meaning. Keep the conversation moving.
Route around the obstacle. Exactly. Never freeze. Always find another path. The meaning matters more than the exact word.
Question 4. What does neuroplasticity mean, and why does it matter for language learning? This one needs a real answer. Pause and think.
Neuroplasticity means the brain can form new connections and rewire itself at any age. It matters because it means you are never too old or too stuck to build direct access in English. Every practice session literally changes your brain.
That is a complete, confident, thoughtful answer in English with no translation visible anywhere. That, everyone, is what we're working toward.
Last question. Name 2 daily habits from today's episode that help build direct English thinking. Pause and remember.
Switching your inner monologue to English, narrating your life in your head, and learning language in chunks, whole phrases instead of single words, so your brain has pre-built pieces to grab.
2 perfect answers, and there were more. Self-narration, reacting in English, journaling in English, shadowing, simplifying instead of stalling, learning language in chunks, not isolated words, and shadowing. Today was a full toolkit.
Give yourself a real round of applause and notice that you just did a quiz entirely in English. That is not nothing. That is everything.
What a deep and important episode. Let's bring it all together. Today, we went inside the brain and looked at why translation happens, the 2-step wiring, the 200 millisecond delay, and the anxiety loop that makes it worse.
The key vocabulary: translation bottleneck, direct access, neuroplasticity, inner monologue, language anxiety, chunking, shadowing, and the breakthrough moment.
The habits we covered were switching your inner monologue to English, simplifying instead of stalling, reacting in English before the brain can translate, learning language in chunks, not isolated words, shadowing, journaling in English, and aiming for communication over perfection.
My biggest takeaway today: the wall between who I am in my language and who I can be in English is not permanent. It's wiring, and wiring changes. Every day I practice, the wall gets thinner.
And mine, the moment Nana said, kept going in the role play. That is the whole thing. Imperfect English that keeps going will always outperform perfect English that never leaves your head.
So from today, start small. Switch one habit. Change your phone to English. Narrate one moment of your day internally in English. React to one thing out loud in English. One tiny rewire at a time. Your brain will do the rest. Thank you for joining us on the English Nana podcast.
Keep practicing English every single day. Your brain is rewiring with every moment.
And don't be afraid to make mistakes, because that is how we learn.
We'll see you in the next episode.
Take care, everyone.
Bye, everyone.